Did you know that over 500,000 people in the United States sleep on the streets every night? From the glittering cities of California to the struggling coal towns of West Virginia, entire communities are collapsing under the weight of poverty and homelessness. Rent is skyrocketing, jobs are disappearing, and the American dream is slipping further out of reach. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about real people, real struggles, and real lives at stake. Today, we uncover the 10 fastest failing states, exposing the harsh realities behind the statistics. Stay with us until the end, because what we're about to reveal might shock you. Number 1. California. California is often seen as the land of success, Hollywood glamour, Silicon Valley tech empires, and breathtaking beaches. But beneath the surface, it's also home to the largest homeless population in America. According to Shasta Scout, more than 185,000 people in California have nowhere to sleep. In cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego, massive tent encampments sprawl under highways and along sidewalks. The cost of living is unbearable. A basic one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco costs over $3,300 a month, while the median home price sits at an astronomical $854,000. Many Californians are spending over half of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Wages, especially for service and middle-class workers, haven't kept up, leaving thousands on the brink of eviction. Veterans make up 11% of the state's homeless population, like James, a 62-year-old former Marine who lost his job during the pandemic and now lives in a tent near Skid Row. But California isn't the only state in crisis. Up next, we head to Louisiana, where poverty and natural disasters are pushing families past their limits. 2. Louisiana. New Orleans jazz, vibrant culture, and legendary Mardi Gras mask a devastating reality. Louisiana has the second highest poverty rate in the US, at nearly 19%. Economic hardship is nothing new here, but hurricanes and natural disasters have made things even worse. When Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, over 1.5 million people were displaced, and the damage topped $160 billion. Then came Hurricane Ida, causing another $75 billion in destruction. Thousands of families never fully recovered, leaving entire neighborhoods in ruin. Today, many people still live in storm-damaged homes, unable to afford repairs or find better housing. Rents are sky-high, with a 2-bedroom apartment in New Orleans ranging from $1,300 to nearly $2,000 per month. The Department of Justice noted that the average family earns under $60,000, forcing many to choose between food, rent, and healthcare. And speaking of healthcare, Louisiana has one of the highest uninsured rates in the country. Nearly 1 in 10 people have no medical coverage, meaning an unexpected illness can lead to financial ruin. Homelessness is on the rise, with over 3,000 people lacking stable housing in 2024. At the same time, Louisiana has the highest violent crime rate in the nation, making survival even harder. Yet, in the middle of this crisis, grassroots organizations are stepping up. Groups like the Louisiana Housing Alliance and the Make It Right Foundation have built sustainable housing and provided assistance for struggling families. And if you think Louisiana's struggles are bad, wait until you hear what's happening in Oregon, where homeless is reaching a breaking point. If you're finding this video eye-opening, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us bring more in-depth investigations on the issues affecting everyday people. Also, let us know in the comments which of these states' struggles surprised you the most. Now, let's dive into Oregon's crisis. It's worse than you think. 3. Oregon. Oregon is known for its breathtaking landscapes, eco-friendly cities, and coffee culture, but it's also facing one of the worst homelessness crises in the US. With the highest per capita homeless rate, more than 50 out of every 10,000 residents, this crisis is overwhelming communities. Portland, the state's largest city, has entire streets lined with tent encampments. Data from Zillow.com shows that a 1-bedroom apartment costs over $1,500 per month, and 27% of renters spend more than half their income on housing. For many, one missed paycheck means eviction. But Oregon's struggles go beyond housing. It ranks 49th in mental health services, leaving thousands battling addiction and untreated illnesses with nowhere to turn. Nearly 19% of residents suffer from substance abuse disorders, and without adequate healthcare, many end up on the streets. Efforts like statewide rent control and homeless outreach programs have slowed rent increases, but the shortage of over 128,000 affordable housing units remains a major issue. Meanwhile, community-driven solutions such as Dignity Village and Right to Dream 2 are offering temporary relief, but it's not enough to stop the crisis from growing. Oregon's situation highlights a troubling paradox: a progressive state with beautiful landscapes, thriving businesses, and forward-thinking policies, yet one that can't provide basic shelter for its most vulnerable citizens. And if you think high rents in Oregon are bad, wait until we look at New York, where the cost of living is driving people out in record numbers. Number 4. New York. New York is one of the most iconic places in the world. Skyscrapers, Broadway, Wall Street, but behind the glamour lies a crisis pushing thousands into poverty. Every night, nearly 147,000 people in New York have no stable housing. A basic one-bedroom apartment in New York City costs over $4,000 per month. Even outside the city, rents in places like Buffalo and Rochester are skyrocketing, with 1 in 4 renters spending more than half their income on housing. And it's not just housing, food, transportation, and healthcare are all more expensive than in most states. The result? Mass migration. Recent reports from Business Insider made it known that over 481,000 people left New York last year, relocating to states like Florida and Texas, where the cost of living is far lower. But for those who stay, poverty is a growing problem. The state's poverty rate, when adjusted for cost of living, is over 18%. New York's story is one of wealth and inequality clashing daily, and if things don't change, the exodus of residents will continue. But now, let's head to Mississippi, the poorest state in America, where poverty is a way of life for many. 5. Mississippi. Mississippi is rich in history and culture, but poverty here runs deeper than anywhere else in the U.S. With 19% of the population living below the poverty line, the state struggles with low wages, failing infrastructure, and a lack of healthcare access. The median household income is just over $55,000, far below the national average. Most low-income families can only afford $500 for rent, but even a basic 2-bedroom apartment costs $1,000, creating an impossible gap. Public assistance programs are stretched thin, leaving thousands to fall through the cracks. Education is also a major issue. Mississippi ranks 49th in child welfare and school performance, making it incredibly hard for the next generation to escape poverty. Without proper schooling, high-paying jobs remain out of reach, forcing families into a cycle of financial instability. Healthcare is another crisis. As highlighted by Stateline, over 13% of adults are uninsured, and rural hospitals are shutting down, leaving many residents without basic medical care. In places like the Mississippi Delta, access to fresh groceries is also a challenge. 20% of residents live in food deserts, where fruits and vegetables are scarce. Now, let's move on to West Virginia, a state dealing with a declining coal industry and a devastating opioid crisis. 6. West Virginia. Once powered by the coal industry, West Virginia now faces economic decline, population loss, and an opioid crisis. The BBC reported that coal production has plummeted by nearly 50% since 2008, leaving entire towns abandoned and thousands jobless. With fewer opportunities, younger residents are leaving, and those who remain are struggling to survive. Homelessness is rising, especially in rural areas, where it often goes unseen. The opioid crisis has hit West Virginia harder than any other state, with 71 overdose deaths per 100,000 people, the highest in the nation. Healthcare facilities are scarce, and many cannot access addiction treatment. Despite this, hope remains. Programs like coal field development are retraining former miners for renewable energy and tech jobs. Tourism is growing, offering a new path forward. However, unless healthcare, education, and economic infrastructure improve, West Virginia's crisis will only deepen. Now, let's explore Kentucky, where job losses and addiction are worsening homelessness. 7. Kentucky. Kentucky's coal and manufacturing industries once provided stable jobs, but 85% of factory jobs have disappeared over the last 3 decades. According to Kentucky Lantern, this economic downturn has left 16% of residents in poverty, with many unable to afford housing. In Louisville, shelters are operating at 120% capacity, and over 3,000 people statewide are homeless. The opioid epidemic is another major challenge. In 2023 alone, over 1,900 Kentuckians died from overdoses, and 16% of adults struggle with addiction. With few job opportunities, many turn to substance abuse, deepening the crisis. Yet, there is resilience. The Kentucky Recovery Network helps those battling addiction, and community-led revitalization projects are bringing investment to rural areas. Tourism, especially in bourbon production and outdoor recreation, provides economic opportunities, but unless education and healthcare improve, Kentucky's struggles will persist. Now, let's wrap up with some final thoughts. Across the country, these failing states are battling poverty, housing shortages, and economic collapse. From California's sky-high rents to Mississippi's lack of healthcare, the struggles are real, and they're affecting millions of Americans. But within each crisis, there are signs of hope. Community-driven programs, grassroots organizations, and policy changes can make a difference. The question remains, will the government step up, or will these states continue to spiral downward? What do you think? Which of these state struggles shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video insightful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on important issues. And don't go anywhere. Next up, we uncover the 10 countries where illegal immigrants in the US are coming from. Click here to watch now.